Can we shut the door?
You're welcome to, if you do, Ty, if you wouldn't mind.
Close the door?
If we close the door, just keeping an eye on people peek and let them know they can come in. We'll let you do that, though. I'll shut the last door we have.
So, you can taste the tea that I'll be talking about, and it's the 8 Treasures tea. My name is Tanuja Gaway. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, and I treat patients at the clinic a few blocks away, and I'm a doctoral resident there, which means I'm also a doctoral student. So I'm lecturing, and I'm also studying, which is part of why I decided to study Chinese medicine anyway, so that I could study forever anyway. But not necessarily with a degree program. I like the fact that this medicine is something that you can always look at and learn more about. So I'll be telling you a little bit about this tea. This is the whole 8 Treasures tea together. So if you buy the tea, it will come in a little packet and it will be like this, with all these mysterious things in it. Does anybody here, have you had any of these herbs before? Have you had any Chinese tea? You have? So there's this herb supposedly in China started with this legendary figure named Shen Nong. He lived some number of thousands of years ago, and hi, welcome. And he is credited with tasting all the herbs one by one and finding out what they do in the body, and then giving them to people for medicine. So like telling the people in China, here is what you can take for medicine, and these herbs will help you in this particular way to have these properties. So I'll be explaining what sort of things he talks about, what those properties are like. But here's him in a modern picture. This is a big, gigantic relief mural in China that goes about 5 stories tall. And Shen Nong is here in the bottom of the mural. And he's always depicted with these little horns on his head. And he's carrying an axe and some herbs and a basket for collecting them. And his name Chen Nong, it means the divine husbandman or the divine farmer. Welcome. And he's credited with a book that he probably didn't actually write. It's a compilation of writings that came together about 2,000 years ago. And it's named after him though. So it's one of the leading books in Chinese medicine. So there's this overall thing in Chinese medicine where the quality of the food matters a lot and the person taking it in matters a lot. So there's not one thing that's going to work for everybody. Not one food that will have the exact same effect on everybody. It's very, very personalized, just to give you an idea of that too. And the other thing is that there's always tons of legends. So like Shen Nong, his book came together through maybe thousands of years after he actually lived, where people compile the things that he told them about the herb. And when I was eating food in China, when I was there visiting, I found that people often wanted to tell me stories while I was eating. Stories that were very legendary stories about the food. So every single component of a dish may have a story to it, or the dish itself may have a story to it. And so people like to eat and tell those stories to each other. And they're very simple stories usually, but they definitely make a nice way to sit down and talk with other people about something pleasant while we're eating. So what are some of the things that Shen Nong discovered about the herbs and just tasting them, and that you can also? First of all, that herbs just have a general basic quality of being more warm or more cool. And so they're just very, very simple. You can even try to take an individual herb on your tongue and feel like it's warming or spicy or more hot, or that it's cooling. You could think of having pepper versus a mint. It's very basic, but very profound and fundamental. And those separate into the basics of Chinese medicine theory. So more warm, moving, light is the yang aspect, and more cool, condensing, or heavy, or dark is the yin aspect. So everything has these aspects, but they're all relative to each other. So, so I have this picture in the background because of that relative basis for this. You can kind of see the mountains here, and the mountain is higher than the ground. So would you say that the mountain is more yang or more yin than the ground?
That's not your question.
Would you say the mountain's more yang?
Yes.
So, on the other hand though, take a look at the mountain. It has the sunny area and the shady area. And then there's taller mountains next to it. So, which mountain's more yang? The taller mountain. But then you have, and this is the basic characters they use to write these two in Chinese medicine, or in Chinese writing even. Yang means the sunny side of a mountain, and yin means the shady side of a mountain. So, but yet that mountain may be yin or yang relative to another mountain. So, everything has this aspect, like a little bit more of one thing, a little bit more of another. Any questions? And then, those are such big qualities, the yin and the yang. So there's another set of qualities that is used to describe everything, and this is the 5 phases. And it's a little bit more earthly, a little bit more related to things that we can actually fit into like our tangible lives in some ways, because it breaks into 5. And I'll be telling you about that. Another way that those 5 things are arranged, besides in a circle, is putting the earth in the middle. And I'm just showing you this picture because the earth is where we take our food into in Chinese medicine. So the central of the stomach is really an important place. But it's not always shown right there in the middle. So here's the picture again with the 5. And they're given these things that are more related to things we can relate to on Earth. Fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And then the yin and the yang is another component. So when you taste an herb, you're experiencing, does it have a more yin nature or more yang nature? Is it more spicy and light? Is it more cool? But you can also get aspects of these 5 when you're tasting it. And those are flavors. So these might be cool and warm natures, but these are flavors. Bitter, sweet, sour, salty, acrid. And every herb out of the 8 that I'm going to talk about in the 8 Treasures Tea has aspects of these. It won't have everything, and that's why they get combined. And so again, start to relate them to a thing, not something in the tea yet. Lamb is considered more hot, while an apple is considered more cool. And then the flavors have these actions of doing different things. So the arrows sort of show you what the flavors might more feel like. When you feel something sour, there's that idea of puckering. And the sour is said to make things go inward. And so I just have a picture here of some different foods that relate to those flavors. So, like I said, pepper might be something that's considered more yang and spicy, but it also has an acrid flavor. So it's over here with acrid flavor and related to this organ, the lung. Whereas I showed you before the picture of the lamb, and it was considered more hot, but in a different way than a pepper, and it relates more to the kidneys. Any questions? It's all very fast run through of the theory. So the idea is that the food that you eat will enter an organ, and it will pertain to an emotion, and it will pertain to a function in the body, and a channel, like a physical channel that we work with in acupuncture. so part of your physical body. So like the food relates to 5 phases and goes all the way to actually a physical part of your body. So I wanted to, because this is all like a lot of theory, I wanted to just have everybody turn to someone they don't know in here, someone they didn't come with, and just say something that, makes you feel like you're not quite in balance. Maybe it's just like, maybe it could be related to food. Like I ate something and I felt like it wasn't quite the right thing for me.
Sometimes God.
Maybe you guys will come together.
Maybe you're not forward yet. You'll find it probably unmeasured down because of working.
Yeah. Okay. So like each of those 5 things relate to a different emotion or a different flavor. Maybe you ate a lot of, maybe you ate something you're like different. Or you did something, you talked to somebody, not quite me. Maybe you'll try that. Okay, everybody, thanks for chatting. Anyone have anything they'd like to share? Oh, you're all quiet again. Yes?
Well, peanut butter, I was told a long time ago, don't eat peanut butter. Yeah, I love it, but I can't eat it. That's good too, but.
Well, peanut butter, if you look at this, even this picture, this is a more light, higher, as I had in the picture of the mountain, the heart and the fire going up toward the higher area. And the peanut butter is kind of heavy and thick, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be drawing things downward. And it doesn't necessarily allow the same movement through all these 5. So in Chinese medicine, we're looking for balance and ability to keep things moving. So that's a good one. Any other ones?
I said coffee.
Coffee? How so?
Gives me heartburn sometimes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Heartburn.
Yeah. Because coffee has very strong properties in Chinese medicine. So it's definitely going to be making the upper and the lower kind of going in different directions. And it also makes me move a lot. So then instead of slowing the cycle down, it's kind of like moving the cycle faster. Yeah, thank you. So now we'll start talking about the 8 treasures. 8 in Chinese medicine is very fortuitous number. In Chinese, like numbers for specific things. They like to have numbers that mean good luck. And so 8 is a great number. And I was thinking also that it's kind of hard to get 8 of these 8 treasures all together for one tea. There's so many of them, and maybe it's called 8 treasures because you really have to gather these treasures in order to have the tea. It's a lot easier to have 1 or 2 components of tea rather than all 8. So the chrysanthemum is it's a flower that you see right here. There's a lot of different chrysanthemums, and there's going to be a big chrysanthemum festival here in the Chinese garden in November. And the one that we actually use for Chinese medicine that people steep as a tea and drink is only specifically this one. There's this and there's a yellow one. There's not, all the ones that you'll see here are not necessarily ones that you should eat, but they're beautiful. And it's called Ju Hua, and the Hua part just means flower, and this means the chrysanthemum flower. And the festival that's coming up is probably loosely related to the 9th day of the 9th lunar month. That is a time when people will celebrate and use chrysanthemum flowers. They'll go to grave sites and perk them up and put flowers out, but it's also a good time to have a lot of success and long life and be safe from danger. And because I was telling you earlier, people like to tell short little stories, there's little stories that go along with each of those that you can read about. There's a character named Huan Jing who was able to escape plagues and attacks, and so the festival relates to him. So he escaped danger. But there's people that also have stories for being strong or having success in other ways that relate to this day. This is the flower dried that you would eat in a tea, and that's the fresh one, of course. So it has the flavor of sweet and slightly bitter. So not all five, it just has a couple, and it's cold in nature, so it will be cooling. And the chrysanthemum is very popular tea. People have written about it for centuries. They write poems about it. If you were here last week, I showed a poem about the tea. I found some writing about a prostitute training manual. This might sound kind of crazy, but it was written in the 19th century, and it mentions chrysanthemum and why you should use it. Some customers may arrive after having taken aphrodisiacs. Therefore, you must not forget to make them drink a cup of white chrysanthemum tea before you take them to bed. And the aphrodisiacs are very young, and they're very heating up the body. They make the body hotter. And people might take one and be like, okay, I'm ready to go to a prostitute. But even the manual for this talks about balancing, and so the need to balance that heat with chrysanthemum tea and being actually giving medicine to the customers. And the chrysanthemum is also said to have the chi of all the seasons because it grows in the winter, it starts to grow in the winter, it grows through the spring and the summer and the fall. And so when I was reading a little bit about the chrysanthemums that are going to be shown in this garden, they talk about how they cut them back and then let them grow again in preparation for coming here. And so part of what we want with the chrysanthemum when we take it into our body is to have that longevity of being able to be resilient and grow in all seasons and be able to grow in all parts of life. And Shen Nong, the guy with the horns, he said that chrysanthemums will facilitate the qi and the blood and lighten the body and prevent aging. So it's a pretty light but hefty flower to take. Here is the qi of all seasons. And then the other part, the second one, is green tea. And I just chose this one because this is actually Legends of China tea. We're talking about some legends of these components of the earth, of the tea. So there's a story about Shen Nong and green tea also. I don't know, was anybody at the green tea talk? I'm not sure if she told any stories about tea. So Shen Nong is said to have been out in the forest collecting herbs and tasting them. And he asked a servant to build a fire and boil a large pot of water so they could make tea out of the herbs and taste them that way too. But when the servant tossed more wood into the fire, some withered tea leaves fell into the hot water. And that's almost like cured tea, like you would know as black tea, so withered tea. And so it made a fragrant tea by accident. And it also, they called it aromatic amber liquid. And so the Emperor Shen Nong, who's also an emperor, I didn't mention that, a legendary emperor and herb gatherer, he noticed that scent coming out of the pot, and he tasted the tea. And so from there, he decided that would be a really good thing for people to have. And so what he said is that tea is better than water because it does not carry disease. Neither does it act like poison as water does when the wells contain foul and rotten matter. So then tea just became something that people refined and refined and refined the techniques of making it. And so this is kind of maybe, in prehistoric times, they might have had something like this. There's a traditional tripod, three-legged pot that was used to cook things communally. And this is just a picture of one that I took at a temple, where they have old-style And they were used for offerings too. So here's an example of something actually probably also being used for offerings. It's kind of charred. And then green tea is also pulled like the chrysanthemum. It's bitter and it goes to the stomach. So it's definitely a little bit targeted. It doesn't have as many flavors as chrysanthemum. The third one is the red jujube date, or the datsao. This means big date. And it's sweet, slightly warm, enters the spleen, the stomach, the heart, and the liver. So it goes so many places inside the body. It's really harmonized. It's meant to be a harmonizer and a balancer. And it's nice to have something, when you've got like 8 herbs together, it's nice to have something that balances and harmonizes them all. And notice it's warm, so it's different. And it balances too, because when you have the cool flavors of other herbs and this one's warm, then you also start to create balance. But alone, also, this herb is said to balance, partly because it enters so many different channels and organs. And Shen Nong, he said that the big date, the datsao, governs pathogenic qi in the heart and the abdomen, quiets the middle, nourishes the spleen, and goes to all the 12 channels, so it's very balancing. And I have a little picture of him saying. And there's also this idea that if you eat datsao, especially around holidays, you can eat it all the time, like in soups and things. But if you eat it especially for certain purposes, it will bring good things and prosperity for you. Yes?
Is that what's in the Chinese cakes around the holiday time? Are those dates? Did you notice that one?
It can be put into them. There's so many different ingredients that can be put in, but this is one thing that can be put in. And if you especially wanted to, make sure that you were giving somebody a gift or making them for your family and you wanted the idea of all good things and prosperity, then you would choose those specifically.
So should it be soaked in the hot tea a long time? Because I tried making one a week ago and it's pretty hard.
Yeah, some of them are more, when they're dry, they're more fresh, and some of them are more hard. And so, yeah, you would have to steep it a long time or use it in a soup, and then it's going to boil as part of the soup, like with chicken bones or with chicken for like a couple of hours. And then it will get soft, and then that will really steep into the soup.
Okay.
And then you get the benefit of all the 12 channels.
Nice.
So the fourth one is the goji berries. And this is just a general character used for berries. And this is a goji. And so the goji berry, I don't have a story about goji berry. It's sweet and neutral, and it enters a couple places, the liver and the kidney. So it's specialized in a different way than some of the other previous herbs. And it's also, it doesn't have a hot or cool flavor, but it's such a spicy red color. So it's different, and it definitely helps to balance because it's, yet again, different. It goes into kidney, and the other ones haven't yet gone there. So, and it's not a specific temperature. And then there's lychee fruit. Has anyone ever had lychee fruit? You have. You have. So here's the way that you see them on the tree. And if you go to an Asian grocery store, you might see a bag of them for sale, and they'll be in their hulls. And they're easy to break open. They're not hard, and to eat them. And if you've eaten them raw like this, you probably have a good understanding of why they're called dragon eye flesh. And this is dragon eye, and this is the word for meat, actually, used for any kind of meat. So for this case, it's actually being used for a fruit. They're so round and so like an eyeball, and they're pink like flesh. And here's what they look like when they're dry, and they can also look pretty dark, depending on how they're cured. So it's warm and sweet, and it goes to heart and spleen. So it's definitely like a really helpful herb to add to things. When you have this combination, you start to get up to 8. This is a good one. It helps you build blood along with the jujube dates. So but it's more specialized. It goes right to the heart and the spleen. And the next one is raisins. And raisins aren't technically part of the Chinese herbs list, the Chinese Materia Medica, but here's some raisins, and the kind we're used in the tea are the yellow kind. So they're warm and sweet, and they also go to the heart and the spleen. So we're just adding another herb that does kind of what the lychee does, but a little bit different because it's a raisin. And raisins are used in Tibetan medicine, I found, which makes them interesting in that way, because Tibetan medicine has its own long history, and they have a lot of herbs that are shared with Chinese medicine and a lot that aren't. And they have herbs from India, like Chinese medicine does, but then certain things that Chinese medicine left out. And then in that case, if you're going to use herbs for medicine, they prefer to use ones from India, actually, from Kashmir. I don't know why.
Is the lychee just a little bit bigger than a cherry?
Yeah, they're a little bigger.
Okay.
And the outside is something you have to peel off to eat.
I think they put it in sake over here.
Maybe.
You never heard of sake? Okay.
And then the seventh component of this is rock sugar. So it's just sugar that's been recrystallized. It doesn't have, it's cold and sweet. It's different than if you're going to have something like honey, which is warm and harmonizing. The rock sugar doesn't have that same component. It's sort of a balancer, probably, to all the warm herbs in the formula. And it doesn't go to specific supporting organs the way that honey would, or certain other sweeteners. And then finally, the eighth one is a fungus that looks like this, which is kind of funny. And it's cool. It can be cool, I think, but it's also neutral and bland and sweet. So it also helps clear heat. And it definitely looks kind of funny, right? It's if you were to touch it, it would be hard and crispy. It's not soft or wet. And if you cook it into a soup, it still stays pretty springy. So it never gets like goopy the way that some mushrooms or slime would. Actually, usually after you cook it in a soup, you can still crunch it a little bit with your teeth. And it's a really good balancer because it's cool and it doesn't have a strong flavor or anything. And it's the name of it means white wood ear mushroom. So it's kind of a neat word. So the formula has 4 herbs that are cool. So it's kind of like, on the side of being more cool, but it's really balanced by a couple of them being neutral, a couple of them being warm. Most of them are sweet, but it's balanced. The sweet is balanced by a little bit of bitter. So it's very nice formula for drinking and tasting and enjoying because it has mostly sweet, but things that don't overwhelm the sweet. So just a little picture with the flavors on there. Why would you even want to clear heat? Why would you be like, oh great, this formula's mostly cool? When people work hard, work a lot, and they eat spicy food, maybe it's good to drink something like this to balance all of that. When you don't have enough rest, then you start to create heat in your body, and you're getting worn out. And so it's nice to have something that can clear that heat, but also support you. Because when you work hard, you also deplete a lot of blood in the body, and yin in the body, and the quietness in the body. And so a lot of these herbs support blood, and they nourish you, but they also clear the heat for when you're creating heat. So here's several of the herbs also nourish the blood, and they go to the kidney and the liver and the heart. So you're getting to help all these blood-related organs. And the only part of this whole formula that's not really addressing an organ is the lung. The lung's not really addressed. But that's okay, because when you help the digestion and you help clear the heat, then that's really good. And green tea helps the digestion. So it's a good formula. And it's creating balance. And balance is something that we're really striving for. Like I was saying, with the big picture of the mountain and the yin and the yang, that everything's relative to the yin and the yang. Nothing is completely one or the other. And so we want to be that way too. We want to have not a huge amount of one thing or a huge amount of another. And that's why in this formula, not everything in the formula is sweet, because we want balance. Not everything in the formula is cool, we want balance. Not everything helps blood, because that would be too heavy, too much. So it's a nice thing that everyone can drink because it has a balance. But again, because Chinese medicine interacts with everybody in a different way, not everything is for everyone. And you may prefer to drink tea that doesn't have all 8 of these. And that would be fine. So just how would you make this tea? You can definitely just steep it for 10 minutes and then pour out. I remember when I first started studying Chinese medicine, I wasn't used to drinking herbs in a cup. That steeping them was strange to me. I was used to a tea bag, but you can do it. And you can get used to it, and you can eat all these herbs. So once you steep them for 10 minutes and you drink the tea, you can also try eating different ones. You can even eat the flowers. So, and you can also, whether you eat some or not, add more hot water to the cup or the pot, and then steep it again, and you'll still have a nice flavor. You can do that a few times. Any questions on the recipe?
So where do you purchase these around here?
I'm sorry.
Where do you purchase these?
Oh yeah, I'm going to go to that. That was my next thing.
I have a question in regards to the balancing of the
Yes.
tea. If you're feeling a little sick, a little under the weather, can you add more of the cooling elements of the tea to try to fight your cold, or?
Yes. Yeah. You can do that. And you may even leave out, like if you're going to be like, okay, HIV, I'm going to go there first and see what I can do with it. You might leave out the things that stopped out at that time because it's said to be very much more like warm and try to help the body so much. You might not need that. You might need to clear things out. You might choose green tea and chrysanthemum together. Yeah, and you could add something like the white part of a green onion, and that would also help clear out a cold. So where would you buy these? Right here at the garden, they sell the tea. They each have the tea in a little bag all together. There's also herb stores around town that you can walk through and browse and look on the shelves and see the Chinese characters and maybe the Latin or the Western names written on the bags, or just try to decipher what you're looking at. And there's the herb store on 82nd Street. The OCOM clinic, you can have a consultation at the OCOM clinic, and they can prescribe you tea for drinking too. It may be part of your prescription, or maybe something that you ask for, like, well, I really like to try it. But because we're working with medicinal teas, there's some great things that you can drink every day that taste good and are medicinal, like chrysanthemum. There'll be no problem prescribing that. And if you go to the OCOM Medicinary on the first floor of the OCOM building right here, a couple blocks away, there's some things that you can buy just by going in to ask for them. And one of them is not the 8 Treasures tea, but it is kind of like one. It's a chicken soup mix. So you can get a bag about this big, and it has a bunch of different herbs, including some of the ones we talked about today, and it comes with a little recipe, and it will tell you how to cook it with a chicken and with a bunch of Chinese herbs. And if you do that, also don't hesitate to taste the herbs and try them in your soup. Does anybody have any questions? This is a picture I took of a tea tasting at a tea store in China. So they'll give you samples of tea, and you can try the tea and decide which ones to drink. So I'll leave you with this. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Well, thank you. Yeah, I have more tea, and if anybody's interested in information on OCOM, there's some here. talk, I can send it to you. Yeah, there's herbal consultation, there's several different herbal consultations are working with their supervisor. New students bring around and go with their supervisor, and then you come in and they ask you questions, and then maybe there's that one is $5 to do my hair. Yeah, yeah. And I do women's health herbal consultation. That's a little bit different. My business are shorter, and they cost a little bit more, and you get your, you pay for your separate. Your hours are bigger. Oh, yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there can very well be one for that, So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're in the queen. You are the queen bee. Yes.
Do you have any information on OCOM? Do you want to apply?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Okay, good. And also, she might be interested in coming to specialty clinics too. Hold on. Yep. You know when they're going to jury summer?
Still waiting. They both have deadline on September 16th.
Right when you're Swan. Right when you're
It was late early.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
You're driving about yeah, but it's always
I've never seen
it's wingman right before you turn off. You can get both when you can buy a big bag of it, so that definitely makes it cheaper.
Yeah, pretty much any, especially for
Yeah, that's the thing, it's nice to be able to go to the herb store and look at the quality of something.
it's good. You gotta get a lot of paper.
Sorry, right? Yeah. Somehow there's no pen. I don't know why.
Thanks, guys.
Good job. Good job. I know last time we did this day hall, they did it all. Do you have food?
I need to sleep early. That didn't leave out the herbs or anything. Okay.
No.
There's the papers to recollect.
Yeah, okay. Is there holders around or?
I don't know. We get to ask.